Hey, what's up everybody? I'm out here at the Fairmont Hotel in Banff, Alberta, here in the Canadian Rockies, and this is uncharted territory for me. I've been to Canada a couple times, never Western Canada, never the Canadian Rockies. I'm aware that there are a lot of cool cars out here, as usual. Lots of Delica L400s, some other weird stuff. Canada has different gray market import rules than the United States, so as per usual, let's venture out and see what cool cars we can find. First of all, check out this view. I've seen mountains before, but the Canadian Rockies are on another level. Look at that. Look at that. Yeah, they just keep going and going and going. Anyway, and just to be clear, I am combining a morning run with finding cool cars this morning. Alright, the first weird car that I saw here in Banff was actually a couple days ago. It was a Chinese plated Ford Transit camper van. So in the US, I see a lot of European market camper vans that people have imported over to use on their vacation in the United States. Well, here in Banff, for the first time ever, I saw a Chinese market camper van that had been shipped over, apparently, given that it still had Chinese plates, for someone's vacation. It was from the Zhejiang province? I don't know. I'll put it up on the screen here. I think this is actually an Asian Ford Transit. Somebody can probably identify that license plate. This is nuts. Yeah, left-hand drive. That's crazy. I've never seen an Asian market camper. 5-speed manual? What? I remember reading somewhere that after Toronto, the Calgary area, and we're about an hour and a half drive from Calgary right now, the Calgary area is the number 2 supercar market in all of Canada. I guess that's because there's a lot of oil money up here. At least that's what the article claimed. So yeah, interesting bit of trivia there. Another little bit of information about the Canadian car market, and this is just me, ballpark figures. I would say that about 85 or 90% of cars sold in the United States are sold in Canada. That's because some more unique models, like I know the Toyota Land Cruiser isn't sold in Canada, but the Lexus LX570 is. So I'd say probably about 90% of the cars sold in the US are also offered in Canada. And it's probably more like 95, but that 5 to 10% is like oddball, fringe, niche market vehicles. Maybe some sports cars, I don't know. On the flip side of that though, about 99% of the cars sold in Canada are also offered in the US. Ballpark. And that's because a lot of really small cars that wouldn't make sense for the entire US market are offered in Canada, like the Nissan Micra. And I know like Volkswagen offered the Golf City in Canada, which is I think a Mark IV Golf that had been updated and offered alongside the Mark V Golf, or offered here as a cheaper alternative to the Mark V Golf. So yeah, I guess that's only 2 vehicles I can think of off the top of my head, but there are a few more oddballs here in Canada. I know like the Volkswagen Transporter was sold in a unique variation. I guess the Volkswagen Eurovan in the 1990s, I think it was offered in a unique like single cab configuration or something here. I can't remember what it was. Anyway though, yeah, handful of vehicles are sold in Canada that aren't offered in the US. That's the general idea that I'm trying to convey here. Yeah. Here's a first generation Lexus LS 400. So these came out back in the late 1980s. They debuted in 1989 and they were sold through the 1994 model year. As this was the vehicle Lexus was using to really launch the Lexus brand, or it's the vehicle that Toyota was really using to launch the Lexus brand here in the US, they opted to just put Lexus on the back without a model name to get people to focus on the fact that this was a Lexus, which was a very new thing back in the early 1990s. These are kind of, in my opinion, the Toyota Land Cruiser of sedans, because they're insanely reliable, super refined, very overbuilt, way ahead of their time. And that's why you tend to see a lot of them. Wow, this one's in really good shape. Seats are nice, leather's not cracked, it's clean, very clean. Wow. Yeah, anyway, kind of like the Toyota Land Cruiser of sedans, and that's why you tend to see a lot of them still on the road in good shape, like this one. Here's a smart 4.2 Cabrio. You can tell based on the headlights and the grille that this is one of the earlier models. I know that later models were formally sold in the United States by Smart. Earlier models, I think a third party federalized them and sold them in the US in really, really small numbers. But it's really rare that you actually see one. Like, I'm talking hundreds of first-gen Smart 4.2s sold in the US. This, I have to assume, given that some other small cars that aren't offered in the US are sold in Canada, I have to assume that this was actually sold here when it was new by Smart. Zebra stripes though. Pulse trim. Very European. You can look inside, some green accents. Wow, it's a fabric dashboard. Oh boy, these are weird. Heavy on the spheres. Green fabric, it's like a camo finish. Very weird. Engines in the back. Yeah. 4.2 Cabrio, first gen. Here's a Volkswagen known as a Vanagon in the US. Not sure what they were sold as in Canada, but you can see it's a Synchro. It's got a Quebec plate in the window. Oh yeah, it's a Synchro. Manual transmission, tin top, not a pop top. 4-wheel drive sticker. Alberta plate on the back. TICINO. Let's see. Nope, it doesn't say Vanagon on it, so I'm not sure. Not sure if these were sold as the Vanagon here, like they were in the US, or if they were called the Transporter here. But very clean. It's in very nice condition. That is one cool van. SL500 AMG. That's what I'm talking about. Delica L400. Chamonix. 4-wheel drive. Sounds like a diesel. So I've talked a lot before about the United States gray market import rule that says that in order for a non-federalized vehicle to be registered within the United States, it must be 25 years old or older. In Canada, they have a similar rule, but it's 15 years old or older. So, obviously, Mitsubishi Delicas have become popular in the United States, but given that 25-year rule, it's primarily Delicas from the L300 generation that are now popular in the US, whereas in Canada, you see a lot of L400 Delicas, which are the ones that were sold in the mid to late 1990s. I'm told that they're like everywhere in Vancouver, and I've actually seen 3 here in Alberta. Okay, a lot going on this property. Here's a Nissan X-Trail, which is a compact SUV that Nissan offered in Canada, but opted to not sell in the United States. You see a lot of these around here. In fact, there's another one right back there. This is a second generation model sold from, I think the mid 2000s, roughly. Snow tires. There's the Nissan badge. Pretty basic compact SUV. It probably would have sold in the United States, but for whatever reason, Nissan didn't want to sell it there. There's the X-Trail badge. So I got kind of excited about the X-Trail, and then I got really excited about what I just saw over here. Okay, behind me is a pair of Nissan Accesses. So this is a compact minivan that was only sold for 1 year in the United States, 1990. I've seen one of these ever. I had no idea what it was. I saw this weird Nissan van, looked it up. Yeah, it was an Access. Sold only in the US for the 1990 model year, but here in Canada, it was sold from 1990 until 1995. And here we have two of them. So all it says on the Wikipedia page for these is that the American spec model was offered with automatic seatbelts, whereas the Canadian model came with manual seatbelts. And there you go, manual seatbelts. Other than that, I really don't know too much about these. Wow. Well, it looks like they've been sitting here for a while. Wow. Engine block heater. You have Access embossed there. Neither of them have a Nissan badge on the hood. So this one on the right is totally red. And this one on the left is red with gray underneath. Automatic transmission, white gauges on that one. This one has black gauges. It's so crazy to see these. I guess they're not all that rare in Canada, given that they were sold here for 6 model years. But in the US, this would be a gold mine. Oh yeah. Econoline. Toy machine. Ontario plate. Got the storage box on the back. With the penny board. Screwed on there. Ford Super Van. High top with the Yakima box. Goodyear Wranglers. Oh yeah. Chain on the front, cage over the headlights. Chateau. I can see they painted over some stickers there. CC Ford. Ford Mercury Sales Ltd. Kenora, Saskatchewan. Wow. Amazing. You can see the reflection of the mountain in the window. Here's another Canadian market special. Looks like your everyday 4-door Honda Civic, but it is in fact an Acura CSX. Designed specifically for the Canadian market, or I should say rebadged specifically for the Canadian market. It was sold here from like 2006 to 2010, and it's just another example of how there's more demand for compact cars here in Canada. Honda was able to offer a luxury version of the Civic here. I've actually seen one of these in the US, obviously with Canadian plates, but it threw me for a loop, to say the least. This thing has, I guess, nicer wheels than the Civic. Leather seats, an Acura steering wheel. The grill's obviously been swapped out for an aftermarket grill, but headlights are pretty similar to the Civic. I think the fenders are probably the same, but the front fascia is different, and therefore the bottom of the headlight design is a little bit different. I'll give you a look at the steering wheel. There you go. Oh, it has paddle shifters. This might have had the powertrain from the Civic Si, but with an automatic transmission. I'm not sure. Anyway, though, Acura CSX. What a weird Canadian car. There's yet another X-Trail. A lot of compacts. Boom. A big boy. 420 SEL with the gold package. Paper towels on the rear deck lid there. Man, this thing is clean though. Inside's dirty, but it's in really nice shape, except for the ashtray full of cigarette butts. They can't all be winners, I guess, but that's just a big car. So these were sold in the US as the Chevy Aveo. They were offered in Canada as the Suzuki Swift Plus. Threw me for a loop when I saw the Suzuki badge on the front. But yeah, altogether they were built in South Korea by Daewoo, who went bankrupt in the early 2000s, and GM took them over and offered a few of their products as GM badged vehicles in the US. Yeah, Suzuki Swift, not a Chevy Aveo. Volkswagen Type 2 full pop-top camper. That's a top 3 VW bus color right there. Alright, I think that about concludes our video today. There was a 70 series Land Cruiser Troopy in that parking lot for like the past 2 days. I really wanted to get it on video, but that's okay. Anyway, I'll admit that I thought that the car culture here in Banff would be a little more mountainy. That's okay. We saw a few mountain vehicles. That Delica L400 was pretty cool. But altogether, I think it kind of became more about the weird compact cars that you can get in Canada that aren't sold in the US. Stuff like the Nissan Micra, Nissan X-Trail, that Suzuki Swift, and then that Acura CSX, which I had totally forgotten about those. Altogether, it's kind of like anytime I come to Canada, it always feels the same but different. And I think that's what I really like about it, and that carries on to the cars here in Canada as well. For the most part, they're all the same cars that you would get in the US, with a few exceptions. And my personal favorite little quirk about the Canadian car market is that you can see foreign market vehicles that are 15 years old versus in the US where they all have to be 25 years old. So you see cool things like that Delica L400 and maybe like that Toyota Land Cruiser Troopy that I really was hoping to show you, but looks to have moved on to the next town or something. Anyway though, yeah, Canadian car culture, Canadian mountain town car culture, double whammy right there. Thank you for watching.